So good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Elmwood. Although not in person, I'm so pleased to see so many participants with us this morning. The picture in front of you is not only a beautiful picture, it reminds us of what it was like this time last year. Things are a little different this year, but we're equally excited about welcoming all the girls back. In fact, more so than normal. This break from school, this enforced break we've had from the physical space, I think now more than ever, it's important that we get our girls back together. I know from my own family and my own children, there's nothing like the social connections, those moments together when they're with each other and away from us as parents, where they thrive, where they learn, when they can be a community and just be young people again. So we have been working all week this week as a faculty, and we're just so excited to have the girls come back next week. You'll be aware that throughout the summer, there have been a lot of us working to make sure that we are ready for this new school year. We have checked every box, our plan, if you've read it, the 74 pages of it and growing, if you've had a moment to do that, we'll see that we're trying to cover every base to make sure the girls are safe. But most importantly for us, we started off when we spoke about this as a team, about what we wanted, was to make sure that we don't lose what is Elmwood, that we don't lose the girls' ability to have fun, to love coming to school, to laugh with each other and to learn with each other. Schools are about that. They're about social connections. They're about people coming together. And they're about community. Elmwood is a family. And what we really wanted at the core of what we were doing in getting this school ready to be reopened was to make sure that when the girls come back, they feel like they're coming home again. And so our plan and everything we've done has had that at its core. Safety, of course, is a number one priority to make sure the girls are safe. And Francie Marchand is going to talk through all of those protocols that we've put in place. But for me, it's making sure that our Elmwood values are kept intact. Now, just a couple of things about today, this morning. We have a chat feature, so if you could ask your questions there. We are going to answer those questions at the end. Jennifer Owen Jackson is going to consolidate the questions and she's going to point them to the right people to help us answer the questions. So please put them in the chat. The Q&A isn't working properly for us. We're not able to see all the questions, so sometimes things get missed there. A couple of things before I talk about the values I wanted to just put people's mind at ease about is I know as a parent myself, some of the small things like making sure uniform is ready sometimes causes us a little bit of stress. Please, 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 for next year, don't worry about that. For next week, sorry, don't be worried about the uniform doesn't fit properly at this point. I put my daughter's uniform on yesterday and it didn't fit. And you know what? I had a little bit of stress. But honestly, please, all we want is the girls coming back next week, coming into the school and getting used to our space again. So please don't spend the weekend panicking that something isn't quite perfect. Looking at our Elmwood values, I just wanted to run through them with you. The first one you see there is respect. This is a really important value for us. The fact that we respect each other, the students and teachers have this respect between them, but also as a community, respecting each other as parents and students and teachers coming together, particularly this year. There are going to be times this year where things are challenging, where things are a little different, and we have to make sure that we maintain that respect for each other as we move forward. Innovation will be tested like never before, and just this week alone with the teachers back and the staff back, we've seen such great ideas, such new thinking, and the pedagogy and practice in the classrooms is changing. Because we really want to make sure that we don't lose some of those touch points that are so important to our school, which leads me on to collaboration. Our girls love to collaborate, our teachers love to collaborate, and even us as a community, we love to collaborate. We're not going to lose that. We're going to really use technology to make sure that we can support collaboration within the classroom. We're going to do it safely. The girls are going to be able to still share ideas in groups and really challenge each other, because collaboration is key to learning, so we will not lose that. Integrity is really important to us as a school. Being honest, being open, and I think throughout the summer we've done a great job of communicating that with you, what we're doing, how we're adapting to this new normal. But as we move through the year, it's going to be more important than normal. This idea of honesty and making sure as a school we hold on to our values and we do what's right for the girls and what's right for our community will be more important than ever. Finally, responsibility. And this is a big one. We all have a responsibility now as a community to make sure that our girls are safe. So that's as easy as things like making sure that you don't send your daughter into school sick, making sure that you, as much as possible, follow all the guidelines that we've set out to make sure we have a safe return. As a school, we're going to make sure that we act responsibly all the way through this year, making sure that your daughters are safe, making sure our protocols are followed. But more importantly than ever now, we have a responsibility to make sure that we don't sometimes pass on our stress and anxieties to our daughters. It's all too easy to have that conversation at home about things you're worried about, but students and young people, more than anybody else, pick up on that, and they inherit some of those anxieties if we talk about it too much. So as a community, it's really important that we come together now and join in the excitement of coming back to school, because it's such an important part of our lives. And it's something we've worked really hard to make sure the girls are safe for. So coming together with that idea of excitement, respect for what we're going through, but just the fact that we really want our community and our family to come back together in a fun environment that the girls are going to enjoy. With that in mind, I am going to hand over to Francie Marchand now. Francie Marchand, who all of you will know, I'm sure, will know her role in the school, but she's been with us for 23 years. So she knows our community better than anybody. And she has been working all summer as Director of Health and Safety and Wellness, leading our Joint Health and Safety Committee to making sure our campus is safe and ready for the girls to come back. I will be with you throughout the presentation and also will answer some questions if they're directed to me. But I did want to say I am so excited to be welcoming you back. I wish it was in person out the front of the school or on our backfield, but we will have that chance throughout the year. Looking forward to seeing you all, and I'm going to hand over to Francie now. Thank you.
Thanks, James, and good morning, everyone. Again, as with James, I wish that we were meeting everyone in person. I love this slide, keep calm and stay healthy. As I said to the group yesterday, that's your job, and my job is to stay up at night and worry and think through the processes and make sure everything's implemented for a safe return next week to campus. And I'm really excited about our return to campus because I truly feel that it is a health and safe return for our girls. That our girls will be able to return and enjoy their learning and interacting and their social interactions that they're going to finally be able to go back and enjoy without really feeling all the work that has been done to ensure their safety over the summer. Of course, this is what I love to do, infection control, chain of infection, and all that kind of fun stuff. As one of the teachers said to me this week, thank God your brain thinks about all that stuff in that way. I'll just do what you say. And I'm like, wow, took 23 years to get to that point in my career, but I do love it. And I've been going through the school with Megan Nektik-Knapp and James, and viewing it in a way to ensure elimination of the source of infection. And that's, of course, the best way, as we all know, to ensure a safe campus. That's better, obviously, than our PPE and our masks and so on. So when we view a safe campus and a safe return to school, it's always with that first control measure. It's elimination of the source. Again, as James said, our first partnership, as always, at Elmwood School, and we're going to really ask for your help in this situation. And of course, our girls in our middle senior school are able to do this with us, is that daily assessment tool. We really need your buy-in with this, and to ensure that before you even come to our school campus, that this daily assessment of the COVID-19 symptoms have been done, sitting around the kitchen table in the morning, in your own homes, as a checklist. Are you feeling healthy this morning? And is everyone in your house healthy and symptom-free in the morning before leaving your house? We have, and I'll show you the visual in a few screens, our Elmwoodized screening tool, which is super easy, and the girls will get really used to doing it if they've been working a summer job or at a summer camp or attending any thing this summer. They've been used to doing this pre-screening protocol. There's also, of course, the Ottawa Public Health and the Government of Canada clicked online screening assessment tool that you can definitely use. If you need help interpreting your daily assessment feedback for your symptoms, that's my job. You can email me, phone me, and I can help you navigate that. Then, of course, once we know that your assessment is negative and it's all good to go and you're coming into school, we've done numerous things to help ensure that our layering effect and our protocols will continue for your girls to be safe while they're at school. Of course, normally our classes are smaller, and we've ensured we've respected. Not only have we respected what the Ministry of Education and our Ministry of Ontario and Ottawa Public Health have mandated, but moving into early July, we've exceeded those expectations. And I'm sure if you were able to come through door to door and check out our classrooms, you would be amazed. I knew what we were implementing, and I have been in the school, but I had not been in the school for about a week. When I came back on Monday, the facilities team and I said this to the facilities team, they had exceeded the expectations of some of the classroom setups that I had by 100%. Like, it is amazing. Our classrooms are set up and spacious. The older classrooms that were perhaps a little bit smaller, perhaps a little bit less ideal under these circumstances with respect to the windows didn't open quite as much as I would like for ventilation. We're not using. Simple as that. We didn't need to use them. So we've modified things to the nth degree. We've put our girls in with Megan Echtinknapp's extreme expertise in timetabling and scheduling, which I'm sure made her have many sleepless nights. So that class flow, break flow, busyness in the hallways are at a minimum. Our outdoor learning spaces, we have a tent set up in our back basketball court. We have also worked with our junior school to ensure adequate learning space without crossing over to our junior school. We have forest learning spaces, we have academic learning spaces. We are using every nook and cranny of our grass space, our cement areas, but we're having learning educational tarps set up. We are having at various we are able to book our academic learning spaces. We are encouraging our teachers in their planning right now, which of course our teachers are amazing at being creative and innovative, are looking at teaching outdoors as much as possible, weather permitting, of course. You know that we have been mandated our enhanced cleaning protocols, but I think you know from our communications last year, Sam Grezovic, our facilities superintendent, was ahead of the curve there by purchasing our advanced cleaning spray gun protocol way back when this first started. So we have more of those enhanced cleaning protocols. Our evening facilities team is also been trained by myself with the COVID-19 protocols, and our day and our evening staff as well has attended our mandatory training protocols by myself. So our high touch areas, of course, we have an increased frequency of cleaning throughout the day. We have, of course, hand sanitization stations, disinfectant wipes, and please rest assured that not only am I going on what's written on the package that it's safe, but I've had communications with the distributors of these cleaning products that should we be requiring a disinfectant wipe to be used by a child, that is safe for skin as well. Personal protective equipment, we have that provided for our staff and our faculty, and we have it available for students should they forget the one that they prefer to use, and it's readily available for them during the day. And I will be doing information sessions as required with our students as well, if they need reminders and some education as well around the safe and effective use of their personal protective equipment. Because we know, I don't know if you noticed that out in the community once masking was mandatory, that all of a sudden in the grocery store, people forgot that they weren't respective of your distance, of your space, of the directional arrows. But we do know that even though they are masked, we are still really highly encouraging. The distance, cohorting, and spacing is key. We do have plexiglass protective barriers. In key areas, you'll notice in reception, to keep our receptionists in the bistro, to make sure that the flow and obviously the food remains safe and clean. However, they're not going to be learning behind those plexiglass protective barriers. We have ordered them in such a way that they are mobile units, and should in a classroom a plexiglass barrier be required for a particular interactive session, a particular area where a teacher wants to have a one-on-one session with a child, then the plexiglass barrier can be utilized. But on a day-to-day, hour-to-hour requirement, it is not required in our classroom setups because we have the space. Our desks are adequately spaced out in every one of our teaching areas, which is fantastic. So they're not going to be sitting behind these little fish bowls. The fantastic thing, besides what I've learned, and I can tell you parents, I have learned more about HVAC, pure air flushing systems and water flushing systems than I ever need to know in my life, but it was a fun learning curve over the summer. But we also have medical grade air purification systems in every one of our classrooms. So in addition, our doors opening, our windows opening, and all the classes being centralized in areas of our school where our air purification HVAC system is adequate, we also now have a unit in each one of the classrooms that will completely filter our system, our air in that square footage in every 15 minutes. And I can definitely share with you if anyone is interested in learning more. I'd love to have a virtual coffee with you and discuss this air purification system because it filters out viruses, bacteria, and different particles. And you know, a little interesting fact, it brings in the air of the Rockies, and it also increases cognitive functioning. So everyone's GPA is going to increase automatically just because we have these air purification systems in the classroom. Interesting and fun things, signage and markings. Of course, we will have these as visual cues, and we've Elmwood branded them, and it's they're down on the floor. So do know that we will have visual cues for the girls and flow around our staircases, so that the girls will know, and gentle reminders. We have increased teacher duties and supervisions to remind the girls of their cohorting, and to help facilitate retrieval of their lunches if they're on the bistro meal plan and so on, and going outside for recess is really ensuring fresh air. I'm almost done, except for there's 2 more slides after this. Of course, I've already mentioned the public health driven protocols. And I'm also a public health nurse, just a little interesting fact. So I really have a very strong relationship with that community partnership. And the last but not least by any means, of course, you've probably been riding the emotional roller coaster with your tween teen in your home for the past little while of isolation. And now, of course, as always, my psychosocial support is available for your daughter. And I can facilitate face-to-face meetings in my office at a distance and mask and so on, and following all those protocols. But that support with my, the guidance team and Katie Fraser, we will be able to reach out, support your family, your daughter, and redirect if needed into the community partnerships as well. We're also developing a plan to be done within our homeroom period so that our teachers can also execute a plan just for psychosocial emotional support in general to a generic way to all of our middle senior school. The next slide, Jennifer. Just some international travel reminder tips. Again, just this slide, I'm not going to go through it. I'm sure that we're all very well aware of the emergency order put down from the Government of Canada, and if you have been traveling. If you need help deciphering what this means, if I've been traveling, if I'm traveling for work, and then I have to self-isolate, what does this mean for my family or my daughter? Please connect with me and contact me. Can my daughter come to school if I've been traveling, if I'm coming home from Italy. Because it definitely is a document that you need to read all the bullets and all the way through, not just a few sentences from that. If you've traveled for work and you're back home, and one of our screening questions, or Ottawa Public Health screening questions, it says, have you traveled anywhere within 14 days? The answer is yes, and then it says, go back home. But the bullet ahead of that says, were you in close contact? So of course we have to define close contact. Well, if dad traveled from work and went right into the bedroom and has been in there and only going to his own bathroom and hasn't been coming out and interacting with the children without having, and not required, then that daughter has actually not been in close contact because dad's been isolating in his bedroom. So there's different criteria. So again, either contact Ottawa Public Health or myself, and we will decipher that, that language. And then just the next, user-friendly, Elmwoodized, stop the spread of COVID-19. I would recommend you have this sitting on the breakfast table so that your daughter can go through this herself. It's the questions to ask for the self-screening. It's pulled right off of the Ottawa Public Health screening tool. And then that way, it's not an extra step really you are doing with your daughter in the morning, because I know you can't really see it, but it's, do you have fever? Do you have worsening cough? Do you have having difficulty breathing? Do you have a sore throat, etc.? Okay. So then when we ask in the morning, because Megan Echticknap is going to be at one doorway, I'm going to be at the other doorway. We're hand sanitizing upon entry to the school. And I am asking the screening questions as well. And your daughter will have to say, yes, I've done it, and yes, my screening test is negative. So we will get that out so that you could print it at home if you want, or you could just pull it up on a laptop just for your convenience. We also are going to be having a health and safety question area, and Ms. Irwin Jackson will nod or give us more information as to where it's going to be kind of a chat available on our website that it will be monitored, and then I will be able to answer some of your questions at your leisure as well going forward, and anything to help for your convenience. So at that point, I'm going to stop talking. And yes, I've only had one coffee, if you're wondering how many I have had so far today. And I will pass it over to, I believe, Megan?
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
introduce you, Meg, just so I can say, thank you so much, Francie, for that. I've seen a lot of questions coming up in the chat. Just a reminder that we're not ignoring you. We will address these at the end. Some great questions there. I'm now going to introduce Megan Echticknap. As you know, she's a deputy head of the middle senior school. I do want to say a big thank you to Megan, who, as Francie indicated, has been working throughout the summer trying to make a schedule and a timetable that really works with these procedures, but also supports the girls' learning. Megan's also been integral to everything we've done in terms of the safety protocols and getting us ready. So I'm going to hand over to Megan now. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you, James and Francie. It's been a wonderful team to work with. We are so excited to be welcoming all of you back to the school, whether you're going to be joining us remotely, online, at home learners, coming back in person. You know, the school is just not the same without the energy of the students and the families that that are part of who we are. So we're thrilled to be in this process of launching the school year. My name is Megan Echticknap, and as I've been introduced, the deputy head of the middle senior school, so grades 6 through 12. I do believe that your questions are probably what you really want to get to, so I am very quickly going to just run through a few things that I'm hoping will address some of the questions. So our middle school girls, grades 6 through 8, there have been lots of questions about, you know, what is the school day going to be like for them? When are they going to be able to do co-curriculars or enrichments? So as returning parents know, our middle school girls are full of life and energy. They love to get involved. They engage on so many levels with their academics, with their co-curriculars, with their teachers, with their peers. So all of our planning has gone into understanding the needs of these girls and doing the best we can to continue to meet those needs within the confines of what we need to do to keep everyone safe. So they are in a cohort, a homeroom cohort of 15. Other than some specialist areas, they will be receiving all their classroom instruction in one room. They will be getting outside. As Ms. Marchand mentioned, we have wonderful outdoor learning spaces that the girls will be using, weather permitting. And so we're excited to launch those areas and see how that works as well. When they're inside, as we've said, they will be wearing masks. When they're outside, they will remain distanced, but they will be able to take the masks off. So obviously getting outside is great for fresh air. It's also going to give them a break from having those masks on. And so even things like eating lunch when the weather is good at the first part of the year, they will be going outside to eat their lunch and things like that. And then when the weather starts to turn, or if it's too wet or too cold, they will be eating their lunch in their homeroom hub. They will still be able to join clubs, but they will be joining most of the clubs virtually because we are not able to mix cohorts. Or if we do mix cohorts, it has to really be very carefully determined why those cohorts are mixing. Is it absolutely essential? So for example, in a particular grade, for example, grade 8, if they are mixing across the grade for their French instruction, we will do that because that is a very important academic need. But mixing because of a club, mixing across grades, and those kinds of things would contravene the need for the cross-contamination and the contact tracing. And so we will still have them participating in co-curricular type activities during their enrichment block and their lunch block. But if they're doing it physically, it would be in their cohort. And if they are joining a club that is cross grade, so for example, the classics club or an environmental club, they will be doing that virtually. And so that would be available for both at-home learners and in-school learners. And so I'm going to move on to the senior school because some of this also transfers over to them. So the next slide, practical matters about the senior school. Our senior school girls are grade 9 to 12. And they are really used to kind of developing that independence and having a little bit more choice in their subject areas and choice in where they can go in the school. And those things are going to be different this year. So while they will have more mixing across grades because of their elective courses, they will still be limited in where they can be in the school. So when they're on a spare or a study hall, they will have designated areas to go to. When they have a spare or a study hall, they will not have sign out privileges unless they're going out with a teacher with a group. So you will have received a mailing that includes a form called an opt-out form, and this is for both middle and senior. Basically, the way this works is if you don't return that opt-out form, we're going to have the authority to take the girls with a teacher off campus. So if we want to take them for a walk, if we want to go to one of the local nearby parks, that could be for an academic purpose, or it could be for a homeroom purpose, just to get them outside. So if you don't want your daughter to be able to go off walking in the neighborhood with a teacher, it would always be with a teacher supervision, then you do need to fill in that opt-out form. Because we know, particularly for the senior school girls, they may be missing some of the privileges that they would have normally had to be able to do those things on their own with parental permission to sign out. So we're really looking for ways to continue to kind of let them have some of those opportunities, but in a way that is still fitting with the regulations. The senior school girls also, as I mentioned, will be mixing within their grade for their elective subjects. So yes, they will have their homeroom hub, but because they have so many electives, the courses that they have will mix with other girls within the grade, and in some cases across 2 grades. But we have been very careful to ensure that they will, that their student to student contact and student to teacher contact stays below the requirement, or it's more of a recommendation from the ministry and from public health. And so this is, again, because we know that if you are selecting in-school learning, you want those face-to-face interactions for their courses and for them to be able to have those interactions with their peers in the classroom. So I'm going to move on to the next slide now. The senior school girls obviously will also have the same opportunities for their clubs and co-curriculars that the middle school girls will have. We have our lovely team of prefects for this year that is ready and raring to go. They've been meeting virtually and they are planning lots of different events that girls will be able to do in their homeroom pods or in their grade cohorts, as well as we're planning some really exciting things for return to school. We're planning Camp Elmwood, but at school, because we can't go to camp this year, or we can't go in September. We are, there are some of us who love camp who are hoping that maybe in June we could do some version of it. But anyway, that remains to be seen. But we are making sure that all of those opportunities for leadership, for engagement, all of the things that make Elmwood who we are in terms of those out of classroom experiences, we are still planning to happen. Of course, they will look slightly different, but we are ensuring that those opportunities for leadership, for co-curriculars, for development beyond the academics are all still there. So you can see here on the screen, a lot of people have been asking about the kind of the arrival and dismissal from school. So as I've already mentioned, and as Francie, Ms. Marchand has also discussed, we have very strict protocols that when students are in the building, they are supervised. It's even the same for staff and for faculty. So when we're in the building, that has to be documented where we are and who we're with. So all of our classes, we have strict requirements for where the students seating plans, even when they're on a study hall. When are they going outside? And so this is also in terms of if your daughter has to leave for an appointment, they will not be able to sign back in during that given day. So your daughter can come to school late if they're an at-school learner, and they can sign out early if you have an appointment or if they have to be somewhere. But if they leave, say, for example, they have to sign out at 11 a.m., they cannot return afterwards, even if there was time for them to come back for a class. And that reason is because of the contamination and the possible spread of the virus. And that rule is actually the same for staff as well. So we understand that appointments, you often have very little control over when your dentist appointment falls or a medical appointment. And so when we're aware that that is going to be a challenge to always try to organize your appointments at the very beginning of the day or end of day, but it is something that we're doing to protect everyone in the school community and building. So you can sign in late, you can leave early, but you can't leave the school and return on any given day. So the other, piece of that is people have been asking about early drop off and students staying late at school. We completely understand. Many of us have children ourselves that we are also struggling to figure out, with a work day, how do we drop off? How do we pick up? How do we fit within the timing of our workplaces or the children's schools? The concern and the problem that we deal with is that anyone who is together in the school building has to be considered a cohort, and that increases contacts. And it also means that those spaces in the school that are being used for classrooms have to be supervised by somebody in the school building, and also have to have consistent attendance. So it's a regular piece. So basically, we are asking parents, we cannot have early drop off because girls can't be in the school unsupervised. And when they come to school, they will go straight to their first period class or homeroom. So you can see on the slide the drop off times. There are going to be designated entry and exit doors. And I'm going to show those on the next slide. So if you're coming in a car, the drop-off spot is the same, which is right at the crosswalk. And if you are walking, you'll be able to go to your specific door. And then if you're coming, there are a few students who I know, and I see some comments in the chat, coming on a bus or carpooling, and we will mention about carpooling. I will turn that back over to Miss Marchand at the end. But those people that are busing, and there are a few that are looking into if they're coming from a distance, there's the area at the front of the school in the little U-shaped off of Buena Vista that occurs for that. So those are all things that I'm going to look at the next slide. If I can ask Jennifer to go to the next slide. So you will see that the drop off is the same for all. And then the grades 6, 7, 8, and 9 will be entering through the regular reception door. And the reason for that is it's based on where they're going in the building. So we're making sure that there's as little kind of interaction in the hallway as we can between kids from different grades. The entry door for grade 10, 11, 12 is at the atrium. So if a student is coming by car, they will get dropped off right at the crosswalk there, the pedestrian crosswalk. 10, 11, 12, we've created a walking corridor down the side of the building. They will walk down the side of the building, across the path at the front of the building, and into the atrium door where I will be. And then Miss Marchand will be at the reception door welcoming the 6, 7, 8, and 9. And so for pedestrians, they would come the way they normally would and go to those entry doors. For anyone coming on a bicycle, the bicycle racks are in their same location, and they would be entering along that back pathway that we always used. And again, we will be asking girls to stay distanced when they lock up their bikes and already have their masks on at that point once they start locking up their bicycles. And then they would walk to their designated entry door as well. So if I can go to the next slide. So this is where I discussed about the early sign out. So you can sign out early, but then you are not able to return within that day. We do have a staggered dismissal, and I'm going to talk, I know people, parents are trying to figure out if we normally had our daughter staying at school beyond dismissal, what is that, how is that going to work now? As I said, we are asking parents to work with us to pick their daughters up at the designated dismissal time. We do have an area, the tent outside, which is actually lovely. It's really cool. It's a tent covering the whole basketball court. And I said to Mr. Whitehouse that I thought we could have a little circus in there even. It's quite a big space, and it has sides around it too, if it was really windy or rainy. But that is an area where, for the time being, if a parent is late or if girls need a place to wait, that girls could go to the tent. But again, recognizing that we do have to have anyone who is staying late, there is a knock-on implication of contact tracing, of cohorting, of supervision that is all required. And so if there are things that you need to discuss with me about your daughter's particular situation, please get in touch with me, because we do want to support you as families, but we do also have things that we have to adhere to in terms of the public health policies. So siblings in junior school will be staying with their homeroom teacher until their designated time for dismissal in middle senior. So if we can go to the next slide, these are the staggered dismissal times. Again, it is based on keeping the youngest learners in the school for as much of the school day as we can. So you will see that the older girls have a slightly earlier dismissal as we stagger them out of the building. It is also based on the kind of location of where these students are physically in the school, so that when they're exiting, they're not coming into, well, we're limiting the amount of hallway flow and contact. So next slide, please. All of this information will also be shared with you on Schoology and in an email. So the Bistro, we are still having the Bistro services for the lunch meal plan. You can sign up for 1 month at a time or for the full year. If we were to ever have to go back into full school closure, we would refund that money if we weren't providing you with the lunch because we were closed. And so the reason we have to do only the full meal plan, again, is related to safety and security around food preparation and food delivery. And so we have to have a really accurate count of exactly who is receiving food and who is on the meal plan. So we won't be having the one-offs, a la cartes kind of things to start. And if we can move to having that again, we definitely will. So if you would like more information on the bistro and the meal plan, please let me know and we can send you sample menus and also let you know how the costing works. And the next slide, please. So a lot of people have been asking about the Elmwood uniform. So because we are not able to have girls changing at school, this is, again, I think you're going to get used to hearing this. We have very strict regulations around cohorting, around mixing, around students being in rooms that other students have been using and the cleaning protocols that are needed. So students will not be changing at school. So that is why we are allowing girls to wear either the gym uniform or the Elmwood uniform, so summer or number 1. And we hope that this will be helpful for parents. I know Mr. Whitehouse mentioned the stress of like, do I have all the right uniform parts? So please know that to start with, this is the least of my worries. I do want the girls to be in uniform and to, you know, feel part of the school community and have that connection to the school community that they belong to Elmwood. But at the same time, I don't want people stressing out in the morning about not having the right uniform piece. We're going to be very, you know, sensitive to the fact that that this is not something we need to add stress to the plate at this point in our lives. So, but having said that, the gym uniform will be able to be worn all day. So if the students have phys ed on that day, or if they're participating in a co-curricular activity at lunch, they can come to school in their full gym uniform and they would stay in that uniform all day. They can also choose to wear the summer or the number 1 uniform. So all of this will be explained to students in the first week. And so if there's questions, again, just let me know. And the next slide. So I said I was going to try to be quick. Hopefully a few of the questions have been answered, although I saw lots coming in while I was talking. So I'm going to turn it over to our moderator. Again, we are so excited to be starting up next week. It's I just can't wait. I can't wait to see the girls. I can't wait to connect with the at-home learners. And it's going to be very exciting. We are so confident that we are ready for this, that the school is in an amazing place. It's, you know, we're following every protocol and thrilled to be having everyone back.
That's great, Megan. Thanks. I think some of the questions have been answered as we've been going through. I am going to take all of these answers and I'll be updating those FAQ pages that are on the parent portal under the campus reopening logistics. Just going to try and group together some of the questions that we've had asked by kind of multiple people. And one of them, maybe we'll start with the carpooling question, Francie. There's been a couple of questions about carpooling and busing and how that is handled.
Okay, yes, so it is, you know, if you have read some of the documents that aren't even the Elmwood documents from the ministry, they definitely are clear about not recommending carpooling and so on, but we do know that the practicalities in life, that people are taking the bus and there is carpooling and people have various bubbles. So we're practical, and so what we're asking for our staff that have carpooling, for our safety of our students and not cross-contaminating, we are saying no carpooling, just so that you do know that fact. But for our students, if you are carpooling, and I saw the question at the beginning, you know, if there's different schools and so on, it just, if you can, please respect the protocols that are going to minimize the contamination, which might seem a little bit odd for the students sitting in the car with their masks on, and as the weather gets cool with the windows opened a little bit. But if you can maximize fresh air, maximize distance if you possibly can, and ensure that everyone in the car, including the driver, is wearing a mask, that would be really helpful. Because in every situation, whether it's in the classroom, the building, carpooling, etc., if we have a positive case, the health department is going to deem the extent of impact in our school. And as they do their investigation for contact tracing, if they get to the point of a carpool, but our carpool can say the windows were opened and everyone was wearing their mask, that might significantly affect the reduced impact of the need to self-isolate and the effects of different cohorts. Because if we had like a grade 8 and a grade 10 in that carpool, potentially that could affect obviously 2 different grades. But if you are carpooling, there are things that you can do if you have like a minivan, and normally, you know, the girls would both sit side by side in the very back seat, but you have 2 rows of seats, spread them out as much as you can. Those kinds of things would be very helpful. Hand sanitizing entering the vehicle. Obviously, we're going to sanitize them when they exit the vehicle, and keeping the windows opened a little bit when you're getting the fresh air circulating in the car. So hopefully that helps.
That's great. Maybe, Francie, you could also talk about how we would differentiate between kind of common cold and seasonal allergy symptoms and symptoms that might be related to COVID.
Okay, so hopefully yesterday, because I know from my inbox that health form did get populated and sent home on a huge kind of mail out from our senior systems and my backpack, with an opportunity for parents to review the medical information that we have on file for you. So I'm hopefully that you're all nodding, although I can't see any faces right now, because that's this year more than any year, it's very, very important for you to review what we have on file for your daughter with respect to pre-existing medical conditions. And if seasonal allergies is an issue for your daughter, please put that on the medical form. Because obviously if she has runny, itchy nose, runny, you know, eyes, then I just would need to know that. Other than that, if I know the symptoms of COVID-19 are very general, very, very vague, minus the objective of fever and worsening cough. But yes, otherwise the symptoms, she would be sent home. All the girls, junior from senior, will see me. I will assess them if they come to school ill. I didn't mention the fact that at both schools, both buildings do have an isolation room. And if the girls are unwell, fall ill at school, I will be seeing them immediately and taking care of them. I have full PPE available to myself, so they will not be left unattended. They will be taken very good care of. They will be expected to be picked up immediately by the parent, but they will not be left alone. And I have a full room isolation room, but I will be with them at all times. But those symptoms are, I understand, and there will be frustration. But there was a question as well, will the girls, if they either screen negative or positive at home or get sent home but are still well enough, I understand, but still have that symptom, they will have opportunity to continue with their learning from an online way at home, at least.
Great. Another one for you, Francie, around communication of cases, what our protocol will be for that, and the COVID, Health Canada's COVID app, and whether the girls will be asked to download that.
So the positive case, so if we have a positive case, whether it's staff or a student, we are mandated to post it on our website, obviously with no names. It is a transparent, and we are dictated from the Ottawa Public Health that how we go about doing that. So we would have to inform our community that we have a positive case. How much of our school would be impacted, again, as I just said, by the positive case would depend on the contact tracing and how much that student had come in contact with our building. And there's a street cleaner going outside my office right now. So as Megan had said, we are very good and accurate about our contact tracing procedures. And this is why our cohorting and our recess and our seating plans and even our staff are being asked every night to populate a Google document about any particular contact during the day with another adult in the building outside of their normal social bubble. Like if a contractor, came in to reception that normally wouldn't come in because he, got buzzed in or something, anything out of the ordinary, we are all, uploading into a Google Doc. So our contact tracing is above and beyond what needs to be done. And I really believe that if we get a positive case, because our teachers have limited contact times with various limited students, will be very contained, and our two buildings are separate as well. And for myself, for example, if I go into the junior school building, because I would be one of the exceptions of going through both buildings, I have full PPE and everyone has been given full instruction of transmission of infection and what that looks like. And I mean full PPE means goggles, mask, gown, gloves, to avoid transmission of infection. The other thing I hadn't mentioned, it doesn't go to this question, but our staff has had 3 days of health and safety training, for this week. So above and beyond, again, what other people have received with respect to training of infection.
Great. Thanks, Francie. And Megan, do you want to talk about the process for girls finding out what their homeroom is?
Sure. Thanks a lot, Jennifer. So the girls will receive an email to their Elmwood email. So we are trying to set up and make sure that all of those email accounts are set up on Monday. And so the email will tell them their homeroom teacher and their homeroom location. And then when they come to school, so if they're coming to the orientation day on Tuesday, or if they come for their first day on Wednesday, they will be going straight to their homeroom with their homeroom teacher, and they will also then receive a paper copy of their full timetable. But on the Tuesday, they will also have access on my backpack to their full timetable for the year. So the girls will find out their homeroom cohort teacher on Monday. And that will then prepare them for coming to school on the Tuesday if they're coming to orientation, or if they're coming on Wednesday for their first full day, then they will have the room number that they need to go to and the name of the homeroom teacher. And then they will also have access on Tuesday to their full timetable. I do appreciate everyone's understanding that even up until this week, we are still tweaking and fine-tuning these lists and these cohorts because of the need for minimizing the tracing and the contacts, and also ensuring everything that we normally look for in addition to that. So the friendship grouping, the mixing of new students with returning students, the need for ensuring that they have good flow in the school, etc.
Great. Another question for you, Megan, around music and what music will look like this year.
Yeah, so there's lots of restrictions around music, and in some ways this also applies to theater. So I did see a question about theater in the chat as well. So because we cannot use wind instruments and because we cannot sing, which is a real downer for me because I love to sing, but I'm not very good at it, so people are probably very happy. So the girls will still have music, and they will be not doing the typical band type music because of not being able to use the wind instruments. And we also will be ensuring the full spacing. The girls will be in masks in music and in drama. So the limitation for movement and the limitation on the wind instruments is going to really change the way the music program runs. But to be perfectly honest, I've spent quite a bit of time discussing with our new music teacher and our new drama teacher some really exciting ways that they are going to run these classes, and fantastic ideas. We're part of a network of other independent schools in both Ontario and across Canada. So there's a music teachers network as well as a theater teachers network. So there are lots of great ideas going around about how best to keep the kids engaged and to run these courses while there are many restrictions in place. So please rest assured that we are very aware of the restrictions. We're implementing all of them. And so it does mean the programs will look different, but the classes are still running, and lots of innovative, creative ideas about how that will work. So please talk to your daughters when they come home, find out what they did in music that day, what they did in drama. We are waiting to see what we will be able to do with Elmwood Theatre. So I know there was a question about that. We're very excited to try to be able to offer some co-curricular theater programming, but similar to sports, there are across the city lots of changes to the external programs. So in terms of the CAPIs and the theater shows, because we can't have audiences, because we can't be mixing girls across cohorts. So we are going to look for ways to still allow some co-curricular programming to happen, but we're also waiting for guidance about what that will look like from the perspective of the external organizations.
That's great. So we've sort of reached the end of our Q&A because we have another session that's starting right at 10. So I'm just going to move on to the next slide and talk about the other orientation sessions that we have coming up. So starting at 10 o'clock, we have an at-home learning information session. There's been a couple of questions in the chat about the ability of girls to move back and forth between at-home learning and on-campus learning. And certainly if they have to be at home, they can definitely join the at-home learning. We are asking if it's possible to get the notice of kind of a week going from at-home learning to on-campus learning. So we can be prepared for that, but there is some fluidity in that. Then at 11:30, we have a grade 6 transition information center, session, and Tuesday, September 8th is our on-campus orientation. So this is all new girls are joining. Returning girls are also invited to join, which gives them an opportunity to sort of familiarize themselves with some of the safety protocols, to meet their new teacher, to understand their entrance and how they get to their classroom and have some time in their classroom. Looks a bit different this year in that it's just 1 hour for each division. So middle school is going to be from 11 until not 12 a.m. but 12 p.m. We're asking girls to be dropped off between 10:30 and 11. They'll come into the parking lot. All of the teachers will be on the field with a sign as to what their grade is. The girls will go there and meet their teacher, and then their teacher will lead them through the process of going to the classroom. Same thing for senior school girls. That session is from 1:30 until 2:30. So arrival between 1 and 1:30 would be terrific. And then we're doing a sort of orientation for at-home learners that will be a virtual meeting between 3 and 4 that will kind of be a kickoff for all those girls who have made the decision to start the year with at-home learning. I'm going to save this chat and make sure that we address these questions either on Schoology or on the frequently asked questions. And I'll also post on Schoology just a quick list of some of those important links, either forms that we need to have completed. I'll post again how to reach those campus reopening logistics pages. And there's also an opportunity for you to continue to ask questions either on Schoology or on those pages. So I think that is it.
Yep, that's all. That leaves all it is for me to say is thank you again for coming out this morning and listening to this information. I do want to reiterate that a lot of what we're doing is very much subject to the legal stance of the government and Public Health Ottawa. So sometimes it may feel frustrating that we have some of these restrictions, but we are as flexible as ever. And as soon as we get any leniency, we will certainly pass that along. But thank you so much. We are so excited for next week to getting the girls back on site and in school. And I certainly look forward to seeing some of you as well soon. Have a wonderful, wonderful day and weekend. And we'll see you all soon. Thank you.